Have a quorum at the appointed time. First item of the agenda. First, information papers issued since the last meeting. Since the last meeting, Secretary has not issued any information papers. 2. Date of next meeting, item for discussion. The next regular meeting will be on Monday, 8th of July 2019 from 2:30 in LC3. The administration proposed to discuss the following. 1. Reprovisioning of free Wi-Fi hotspot in public telephone booths and the review of public payphones. The first item on the list of outstanding items for discussion. 2. Progress report on Innovation and Technology Fund for Better Living and Digital Inclusion. The second item on the list. And if not any comments, we shall accept. Third, e-government services. Can we invite the administration team into the room, please? And then after government's make introduction, we will open the floor to members. And members who's raised your hand if you'd like to ask any questions. Let's welcome Dr. David Chung Wai Kyung, Under Secretary for Innovation and Technology, and Mr. Victor Lam Wai Kyu, Government Chief Information Officer, and Ms. Selena Mack, Principal Assistant Secretary for INT Acting. Today, we'd like to report to the ITB panel on the e-government service latest progress. With development of the e-government, the government tried to develop e-government in 3 aspects. First, to provide more convenient services, we require the department to adopt more mobile-friendly design in developing new e-government services and update all websites by the end of 2020. We're also actively promoting adoption of electronic identity (EID) among bureau and departments to enable the public to log on and use various e-government services in a simple, convenient, and secure manner. As well to streamline the workflow of various e-services. We'll continue to strengthen the e-payment services and allowing the public to use the faster payment system to settle payment of tax rates and water charges, and looking into using QR codes on the bills, various different banking apps and e-wallets to make payment easily and conveniently, including using the payments to pay for government venues or facilities. And on digital infrastructure and the tech infrastructure adopted by different departments will be commissioned gradually, including the central managed messaging platform that will be rolled out in Q3 to strengthen our risk control capability, and by 2020 Q3 to launch the new government cloud infrastructure to allow the government to share resources and expedite system development. Third, on adopting new technologies, the Smart Government Innovation Lab established to facilitate the industry, especially local startups and small medium enterprises, to showcase IT solutions to different departments, and through the proof of concept and technical testing to help bureaus and departments to better understand if the solutions can effectively address the business needs, and as well to put it into practice. And each quarter we will conduct a technical forum to allow the industry to share the solutions and technologies to inspire departments to adopt new technologies to expedite the development of smart government and to create more business opportunities. We will launch the Big Data Analytics platform in Q3 2020. Using a data-driven approach to make business decision and for service delivery, to raising the government operation efficiency and improving city management. At the end of this year, we will roll this out, the chatbot services on the GovHK portal and the 1823 public inquiries hotline. On big data analytics and AI will ensure that the system and data security and would fully safeguards to public privacy. And we're also launching a blockchain pilot project and working with the intellectual property department, the company's registry, the EPD, and Department of Health to progressively implement blockchain projects to explore the applicability of blockchain service in government service as well as the constraints. And finally, I'd like to talk about the progress on the CSDI. And this year's budget we earmarked at $300 million to expedite the development of a CSDI's application. The government planned that by the end of 2022, that the platform will be fully commissioned to allow the private company to more searching and usage of data, and will progressively roll out the high quality 3D spatial map. That's the end of the introduction. I will welcome the members' questions and suggestions. We have 6 members put up their hands: Chen Ying, Yu Shi Wing, Charles Mock, and myself. Let's start with Chen Ying, 4 minutes each round, Q&A included. And for Paris 17, I noted the OGCIO mentioned that 4 different departments are discussing for a project on blockchain, for example, the IPD, CR, the EPD, and the Department of Health. I noticed that the registry might involve a lot of documents, and those blockchain can help to enhance efficiency and also facilitate the applicants. Why the government only chooses 4 departments? I noticed that for the land registry also involve a lot of documents and a lot of photocopying. Why some is chosen for pilots while others aren't? I would like to listen from the OGCIO. I know the government has set up this Smart Government Lab. That's a good thing for sure. To showcase a dozen technologies they have gone through the proof of concept, and now they are at the hit sense technology, the smart functional Lamppost, and the chatbot, and the blockchain, and big data, and so on. And for the smart lab, you claim to be open to the public in December and let the public aware that which of the concepts are proven feasible. I'm worried that it's like the science museum. After demonstration for the first time, and you will not update the exhibit from time to time, it will be obsolete. So how often will you update the showcase so that the exhibit will be kept up to date? Well, there's not much inkling in the document, and on the tree monitoring certification, and you claim to be trialing in few trees. Now it's the rainy season. They're all worried about during typhoons there will be tree failures. Would you strictly install those spots with a high pedestrian flow, with a lot of in the risk of tree failure, that you can reduce any casualties? The 3 questions first. OGCIO, CIO. To your first question on blockchain. Well, liaise with different departments. Well, the minimum department will engage is 3. We have communicated with the land registry. Their response was that they want to look at how the department got about with that before trying themselves. I believe that the pilot train, they were able to help the department. For example, when dealing with a large amount of transactions where the network speed requirements as well as information security. Well, the few of the pilot projects are easier to monitor the progress. If things go well, I'm sure the other departments will proactively consider adopting blockchain. On the Smart Government Innovation Lab, we will update the content from time to time, and those the pilot exhibit and the showcase. We estimated that it will be refreshed every 6 months, as well as the pilot projects. And on the tree management office, I don't have information at hand as for a few hundred sensors will be installed and where on what kind of trees. I believe that will be on high foot traffic area. For the careful breakdown, I need to ask the Development Bureau for details. Any follow-up? Okay, Mr. Eunice Young. I would like to ask the personalized information platform. I know the CIO back in 2007 to 2010 have launched this MyGov HK platform, but what about the reutilization rate? I've been using the government website to pay taxes to handle my taxation. And also the hospital authority, I also made booking through the website. However, I don't see how this MyGov HK can provide a one-stop service to the public. I've been using the e-tax, the HA, have the HA booking system. There's not even app. So could the platform able to provide one-stop service? If not, are we able to provide one-stop service to all government departments, whether for paying taxes, lands management, and home affairs department can also handle through one single platform for all the activities and bill payments? And another question on e-payment. So I was briefed that you will adopt Google Pay, Apple Pay, and faster payment system for e-payment. I suppose this is the trend to stay. But I know that the public still use other payment means. For example, the Octopus, WeChat, and Alipay. While this technology is still evolving, how the government will take it forward to cater to new payment methods. And on opening up data, so back to an old question, how can we provide a one-stop service so the public can use the information? How do we have a foster cross-department collaboration? I would like to know about your timetable. I know that there will be a real bus arrival data. They were able to help with our traffic. On opening data, can you help to relieve the problem of traffic congestion? CIO? MyGov HK currently have 23 departments of 92 e-services offered. The utilization rate is from 2018 to 19 is about 3 million utilization. I see that the services can be expanded and promoted. And next year, we will roll out the EID. I believe that after the launch of EID, we will use the EID to enhance the service on the MyGov HK. So we use the EID connect different services, including like you said, the not necessarily government departments, but also government-related organizations. Through EID, we will connect group different services and also improve the experience with MyGov HK. And for e-payment, they have a different payment methods. It will cater to on every e-payment. They're not the best use of public money. The current practice with that we shall use the FPS, because FPS can connect a different payment methods, including bank payment methods and through a stored value facility. We start working with HKMA and the banks to adopt the faster payment system to be incorporated into the government e-payment services, so that the public can use the FBS to pay for different services.
Now, as for open data, we work with different bureaus and departments, and this year we have opened an additional data sets, 300 data sets, and in the second half of this year, there will be 400 more data sets So altogether 700 data sets. So the total number will reach 4,000. Now, as for real-time transport data, we have been reaching agreements with different transport operators. They will provide open data, and that will be on the government portal as well. And then some service providers will be able to, some operators will be provide new apps on this platform, and this will allow the public to detect where congestion is occurring, and then they can make use of the right modes of transport. Next, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. 2 questions. Now, e-payment related. Now, recently, a good friend of mine had a house in the mainland. He rarely goes back to live there. And then the power authority phoned him and told him that there are some unusual developments in the power usage. And my friend asked somebody to check his house. So several weeks ago, he asked somebody to clean the house, and cleaning workers did not turn off the aircon, central aircon for him. So you can see that in the mainland, the electronic data system for public services have been very helpful to the public. They are very well developed. So if you use more electricity, or if there's gas leakage, there's an interactive function. But in Hong Kong, we haven't such well-tailored services. Can we do the same kind of things as the mainland? And also the data, government data, online data frequently are not up to date, and there is little coordination among the departments. So how can this be improved in the future? GCIO. Now, our interactive service, we do have some right now. Now, I think it's not enough, though. So we have been cooperating with different departments, especially when EID is available, then the personal services will be upgraded. Now, EID requires registration, and once that has been registered, if different departments want to provide service to the member of the public with his consent, and then once the consent is given, the smarter level of service will be provided. And on water charges and gas charges and so on. Now, actually, some departments are providing smart meters, and this is in the process. Now, once the meters have been changed, a lot of progress can be made. Now, on open data, in the past few months, we have introduced new policy on open data. Many departments have received suggestions from the public and from organizations, including suggestions mentioned by Mr. Ma, and the departments are following up on them. Some can be followed up quickly, some not so quickly. Now, for instance, about half of them have been fully followed up, and roughly another half may not be fully applicable. For instance, personal data privacy might be involved. In some cases, the system has to be improved. In that case, the department will improve the system to open up more data for the industry. Now, the open data strategy, we've informed the departments that they have the duty to open up the data. So when the public and the organizations offer their suggestions, they will try to open up the data. Next, UC Wing. Now, I'd like to talk about the multifunctional smart lamppost. Now, mainland tours, they mainly congregate in To Kwa Wan and Avenue of the Stars, so they affect the traffic by the public. So I suggest that the first batch of smart lampposts can be in these areas to gather information and also to disseminate information so that the government departments can take into account the pedestrian traffic. Now, will you be working with the police and the district councils and the other departments to collect the data so that the data meet the needs of the users? And at the second stage, there are 350 more lampposts which will be completed in 2021 to 22. And what will be the criteria for those? Now, we have suggestions for 50. So we have made some suggestions. So for those which will be installed later, have you taken into account suggestions from various organizations? Now, since we heard Mr. Yu's views last time, we have followed up. Now, the first 50 are not in those areas, and now in Chim Sha Tsui, we will install some in Chim Sha Tsui. That was not previously planned, and by the end of this year, there will be more smart lampposts in Chim Sha Tsui to meet the needs of tourism. Now, for To Kwa Wan, I just received your information, and we can consider that as well. So as long as it's useful, we will work with the highways department to see whether smart lampposts can be installed there. Now, as for the remaining 350, we have initially planned to install them in areas of heavy pedestrian traffic like Causeway Bay, Queensway, Chim Sha Tsui, Mong Kok. Every time we will consult the district councils to see whether the locations would be productive, and secondly, whether the traffic would be affected so that there can be smoother installation. So we will follow up on To Kwa Wan. Now, right now, we know that stakeholders are concerned about To Kwa Wan. Now, if it can be done, the tourism industry and the residents will benefit. And Avenue of the Stars, Chim Sha Tsui, yes. Now, on the use of mobile installations and facilities. Now, you said that there must be mobile-friendly facilities and approaches from various departments. Now, is that already being done at the departments, and which of them have not done it yet? Why is it that only by 2020 would they be updated? Because there should already be appointed staff doing that already. Now, previously, we issued a notice to all the departments so that they can update their websites to make them mobile friendly. Now, that may not be simply done. Now, if it's a website, it might be easier, but sometimes services are needed, and that takes time. So the departments are working on that, and by the end of 2020, all the departments will have done that already. Now it's in progress. Now, the website designs can be completed more quickly. If services are involved, there needs to be more time to convert to mobile-friendly design. So by the end of 2020, all government departments would have that feature. Yes, Charles Moore. Now on the smart lampposts, now previous lampposts they don't even have electricity connection. Now if you have smart lampposts, you can offer more service. And on the 5G transmission stations, now out of the 500 or whatever, have you been talking to the telecoms authority to see whether they can share the same facilities? And on the MTRCL, you say you are still liaising with the companies. Now, what has been the progress? Now, it's not in the document. It seems that it's on several lines, but not others. Why only several lines? And how about the KMB? What's the progress? Have you applied some pressure, or do you need our help on that? And finally, there's a suggestion. The Smart Gov Innovation Lab, can that be speeded up? Now, can you arrange for the members and the industry to go there and gain more understanding, and you will cooperate with the Cyberport and the Science Park. But how about the companies that are not there, especially the smaller startups? So you should liaise with those in co-working space and in accelerators, and engage in similar exchanges with them so that they can put their applicable solutions there. Now, on the deployment of 5G, we have been talking to the operators and the telecoms authority, and we have been talking to them about the workload. The lampposts, smart lampposts, can sustain that. So the telecoms authority sits on our committee, so they will certainly participate. Now, so there will be 5G devices on the smart lampposts. Now, there's a sharing abroad. Yes, this is done in Hong Kong. There is a sharing capability, and this is coordinated by Telecom Authority. Now, as for open data, now that has to await the MOU with the MTRCL. Now, that includes the Airport Express, Chung Kwan O Line, and West Rail. So these lines, to my knowledge, have relatively less, lower frequency. So that's more suitable. Now, when the real-time data is available, the Transport Department will see whether there can be real-time data for the other lines as well. That will be discussed with the MTRCL. As for KMB, to my knowledge, the TD is talking to them.
On arranging the visits to the government Smart Innovation Lab, we are discussing the details The other organizations have expressed interest in arranging visits, and we're now arranging them to visit the lab. So Mr. Marks asked whether you can invite other companies to showcase their products. That can be a follow-up. For example, the accelerators, to see if they're interested to let the departments trial with their products in the Smart Government Lab or showcase their products on the Smart Government Lab website. Ray Chan, today we talk about e-government services, and the public want me to tell the government, forget about it. On handing out the $4,000 under the Care and Share scheme, well, can we submit the form electronically? Because now we have to do manually. You need to put an envelope and a stamp, and how many paper you wasted. Some of them you get a refund for $2. This is a environmental disaster, and the whole process is just not smart and not electronic. Manual processing, manual as messaging, and manual check writing. For last time I asked Matthew Chung, he said that and he wondered how much time we spent on developing technology. The public asked, can you just send email and scan technologies? This is a huge laughing stock. A lot of e-government services had yet to be automated. A lot of them are relevant. For example, when you applying to use a community hall, you actually need to fill out the form at the community hall and actually need to draw the lots. And for the swimming monthly tickets, you actually need to fill out the form at the venue, but you can't file the form online. For this and EU services, what criteria in setting their priority? They would need the Department of Bureau to put up their hand themselves. Would you provide any feedback to them which of services should go first? For the high usage and simple services, shouldn't you propose to the department, why don't you go ahead with these first? While the existing ones are not highly used, for example, the submission, however, you're not benefiting that many people. Why this don't seems to be a priority on the using or the adoption of EU services? Allow me to respond to the Care and Share scheme. I see that there's room for improvement for this scheme. So the government had made a review for the Policy Bureau to launch this large-scale initiatives. If they decide not to use methodology, they must discuss at the policy committee chaired by the chief secretary. If you plan not to adopt technology at the early stages, then you must coordinate with the ITB. So if you notice for the white forms secondary market, allow for electronic submission and payment. I see that it's quite effective. About over 90% of the applications are submitted electronically. Well, shall we launch Care and Share scheme again? It's not that technically difficult or involve a huge amount of money to do it electronically. Each project will have unique considerations. We require to be assigned. They will actually take longer. If no signature is required, it just only to submit the form online to be much quicker. On the form filling, we'll be following with different departments to explore whether the forms can be submitted electronically. I said on multiple occasions, currently only half of the forms would allow e-submission. That is undesirable. And we'll also issue paper to all departments. Because we shall launch EID in middle of next year, and some of the forms require a signature or confirmation. While this form are rather difficult to process without EID, so we have set the goal that before the mid 2021, that all the forms should be able to submit to the government. We have over 3,000 type of forms. I think 3,000 is a feasible target with a small number of exceptions. Some that require the O-ticking, or even bring along the actual copies. Well, those cannot submit through electronically. That can be dealt with individually. However, for majority of those, by the end of 2021, can be submitted electronically. So my follow-up. Speaking of the e-government, the public look forward that after EID, that everything will put under one stop and electronically. And for electronic form submission, about 2,000 of those will be go electronic before May 21. I see there's a clear timetable, so the public will welcome this. The public also look forward that all these e-forms can be interconnected. For example, the single-sided. You just need to fill it once. For example, change of address. Just change it once, and all departments can receive this change of address. I don't have to fill out the forms dozens of times. As for when do we implement a full e-payment, for example, whether you pay government or government pay you, should be able to be done electronically. Do you have a timetable for that? And in Hangzhou, we see that some of the government documents can be downloaded, then print out. Is there a timetable for that as well? And the government have lots of apps that not necessarily updated. They may not be EID ready. Do you have a timetable to really identify those with practical and or highly used ones? Get the public claims that a lot of apps are wasted money. Do you have a timetable for those as well? That's the first question. And second, I see that for the EID paper, there's no mention of CSDI. Even though that's been under the ambit of development, previously it was pitched that like the EID, the key measure for a smart city development and EID. However, there's no mention in this discussion paper. So what's happened to CSDI now? All government departments should be included in their CSDI. So what's the progress and when it be fully implemented? Let's start with these two questions, Chairman. For e-payment, well, in principle, it can be done electronically. However, not all payment methods, because most of them are pay, for example, PPS or pay credit by credit card. We see it did not go far enough. Thus, we see the FPS is a new way. We hope that we can aggressively promote FPS so that the public can make electronic payment through FPS. And on app, we have done some work in that front. There is a timetable for e-payments to all government services. I meant both ways. Whether you paying the government or government paying you, for example, the care and share scheme, the government should be able to pay to the public through e-payment as well. While the HKMA have just issued the specifications on app-to-app transfer. Now that we're discussing with HKMA and the banks on how can we facilitate electronic payment through FPS. We all agreed on the direction I have posted. Within 1 year, we can pay through FPS from app to app. Besides paying from app to app, we have also got other ways to deploy FBS. For example, on counter services, a few kind of counter services are already talking about the switch to FPS, and also the payment services, for example, the water charges, they also can be paid through FPS. And speaking of the timetable for apps, we've been discussing with different departments. If these apps are of low utilization, they will need to be taken out unless they apps serve a particular group. For example, for the blind or special commercial organizations, which have a strong special justification to keep the app. Otherwise, we suggested if there are less than 10,000 downloads, they should consider scrapping it because they can save on maintenance and cost. For CSDI, in this budget, we earmarked $300 million. So by 2020, they'll be fully commissioned. Besides the CSDI, we will progressively launch the territory-wide 3D digital map. As for June 25th, the development panel already discussed the CSDI development. Hopefully by the end this year we can get the funding from the Finance Committee to go for it as soon as possible. By 2020, the platform will be completed. For the interim, we will see some quick results. Upon we got the funding, hopefully by the end of this year, we can open up the API, the map API. We're working with the Lens Department on this spatial address. So each address hopefully be provided with a spatial address. So hopefully it can be done by the end of this year, and so that we can provide the spatial address for each address at data.gov.hk that will facilitate the smart city app development. Even so, by 2022, we can release all the spatial data. And the end of last year, Lens Department already launched the Hong Kong Geospatial data set. This is more like a beta version, in which as they release the spatial data of 70 departments. We'll continue to work with different departments and the different bureau to release more spatial data. And in the INT Steering Committee in early June, hosted by the Chief Executive, they also discussed this and also endorsed that from now to 2022, our CSDI development strategy and our performance indicators, and gradually we will release more data through that and work with more departments to strengthen the content of this database.
Next, Kwang Chun-Yu. Now, just now, the administration said that some apps had to be taken off the shelf if there are less than 10,000 downloads. Now, can you tell me about them? And is one that is about some Chinese boxing, and it cost over $14 million. Now, for apps taken off the shelf, to my knowledge, there are several dozens of them. Now, some are one-off apps, so they have been taken off the shelf. For instance, some were used before, but later the departments felt that there is no need to maintain them, including the AFCD, the Red Tide Info Network, and geotechnical department, the apps on mountain slips and so on. So these are not very well utilized. So we didn't maintain them. Now, as for the app on Chinese boxing, it's not a government app. It's but it received government support. It's funded by the Fund on Innovation and Living, and in July we will give an account on digital integration. Now, today there are some newspaper reports about that app. I believe this app will be useful. It uses AI elements to promote the sport. Now, as for details, we can offer that in the next meeting. Now, in my impression, it cost over $4 million. It's quite expensive. Now, there are several dozens of apps that have been taken off the shelf. Now, is there one that has been downloaded 0 times? Now, these are apps developed with public money, so it has to be value for money. So I would just like to find out which apps are the least downloaded and why is it that there has been so few downloads. Have they been of any use? Now, the minimum downloads, I believe, would be close to 1,000. It's very rare that apps would be downloaded much less than that. Now, what are the possible causes? Now, we explore that. There can be different scenarios. For instance, the website already provides the same function, so the app is not required. So there are few downloads. Now, we try to promote user-friendly facilities in most departments. So and also if it's a one-off activity, then the department should consider carefully whether they need an app for that. Perhaps they can make use of the website. So it would be redundant. So there are fewer departments creating new apps. In the coming year, only one department said that they would come up with a new app. If there's no demand, there wouldn't be a new app. Now, we frequently say that there shouldn't be use of technology just so that technology can be used. Now, I'd like to talk about apps. What's the mechanism? Previously, it said that the individual departments would create their own apps, and sometimes the OGCIO doesn't know that until it's reported in the media. Is that still the case? Do you have guidelines? Now, you mentioned that if it's one-off activity, then try not to create an app for that. Do you have guidelines to the departments to heed that? Now, in November last year, we already amended the practical guidelines for these new apps, and the departments are now well aware of these guidelines. Yes, we hope that money would not be wasted. So I'd just like to ask one more question. Now, EID would be very important for EID, etc. So several years ago, we already asked the government to expedite. I'm glad to hear that it will soon be introduced. And then after EID, EBR would also be very important. Now, an electronic business registration is also an important infrastructure. Now, what's the timetable concerned? Now, we hope to concentrate our resources on developing and introducing EID first, and the EBR, that is the EID for organizations. So we will examine the demand and feasibility. We expect that next year we will have some initial proposals. We are already doing the work. We are talking to the HKMA and the company's registry, etc. We will examine the demand and the feasibility, and once those have been ascertained, we will have an initial proposal. Now, there are some other cities that have been very innovative now they can provide EBR, and which would be a very fast service. Now, EBR can be used for different industries, and many in the industries still are not sure about how they can make use of EID. So you should provide more promotion and training for the industries on EID. Now we are producing some APIs. We believe that in the fourth quarter we will start our promotion and publicity. We are now liaising with some organizations, especially the financial institutions, for them to make use of EID. For large-scale promotion, that will start in fourth quarter, and that will continue. EID will be introduced in the middle of next year, and in the meantime, the publicity will mount. Now, also, I'd like to also follow up on the dashboard, city dashboard. Now, several years ago, I suggested that the government should do it, and you have done some demos. Now, there are 2 city dashboards. We will enhance them. We have 6 smart city scope or spheres, now areas. Now we will have dashboards for all 6, so there will be a minimum of 6. We are consulting different departments to see what data can be put on the dashboard for the convenience of the public. Now in the fourth quarter, we will open up the dashboard for the public to view. It will be available for all 6. You have to go to each of the 6 individually, or will you have a common portal for them? Now we are updating our smart city website, and we will open up the dashboards there. Concerning the dashboards, what can the public see on that? We are consulting different departments on what can be put on the dashboard. Does that include land use data? The different departments can put different data on the dashboard, but we have not decided yet. Now, this is to be decided by individual departments, or would you try to get an understanding of the public's needs? Now, sometimes you open up the data, but what you open up may not be found useful by the public. So I hope that what you provide on the dashboard would be pertinent to the public's needs. We will certainly do our part. We will do the coordination, and if the data is needed by the public, we will certainly follow up with the department concerned. The Undersecretary, now, because periodically you will come and brief us on government e-service. Now, there are many areas like CSDI or COP. Now, the different departments are working on that, but it's not coordinated by you, so it's not in the document, so we don't have the full picture. So we hope that other government infrastructure could be included in your document as well, so that we can do a better job monitoring the government. Any other questions? We hope that e-government can be successful. We can catch up and be more advanced than others. Next, we come to next item of agenda, the report on the work of Create Hong Kong and Hong Kong Design Center. We welcome the government representatives. We have a PowerPoint, and after the PowerPoint briefing, we have questions from members. We welcome the Permanent Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Clement Leung, Mr. Victor Zhang, Head of Create Hong Kong, Ms. Chu Lai, PAS, and Hong Kong Design Center, Dr. Edmund Lee, Executive Director. This is a regular item for agenda, an annual report by the Create Hong Kong, and so now the government has invested $1 billion for the Create Smart Initiative and the Film Development Fund, and it's mainly for talent nurture, helping start-ups and promoting cooperation across different geographical areas. So we have made a PowerPoint, and we'll ask Mr. Zhang to take us through. Now, this report covers our work from 1st of March 2018 to end of March 2019. Create Hong Kong is to promote the 8 creative industries, and this is based on the baseline study of 2003 and some UNESCO principles. Now, under Create Hong Kong, we are mainly responsible for managing two government support schemes, Create Smart Initiative. In 2018 to 19, we invested $1 billion, and since then we have another $1 billion. And film development in 2019, an additional $1 billion, bring up the total to $1.54 billion.
Well, we see in the table of the breakdown of various subsidy scheme, and for the Film Development Fund as of 2019 March, the 40 million have been allocated 1.12 million, and for the Create Smart program, we see there is a substantial increase of now applications, and the number of applications increased by 51%, and the commitment has grown by 135%. The Permanent Secretary have outlined the three strategy on talent and startup nurturing. In film, we have this first feature film initiatives. On the first round, we have Weed on Fire and Somewhere Beyond the Mist, and currently they're showing the second and the third edition. And the Still Human, according to press of the box office as of now, is about 20 million receipts and have been winning critical acclaim, including the 21st Udine Far East Film Festival with the Top Audience Award and the Black Dragon Critics Award. And through the Hong Kong Design Center, we have two incubation programs, namely the Design Incubation Program, DIP. From its inception, we have incubated 233 companies, and for 2019, we have selected 60 companies. And for the Fashion Incubation Program, FIP, we incubated 15 startup, and now we already chosen 14. And on animation, this is the 5th animation support program. Since 2012, we have incubated 101 incubation animation projects, and this round we have 22. And now that we have a third tier of subsidy, in total, there was allocate 100,000, 200,000, or $500,000 for startup to produce animation. And on music, we have this Ear Up. The Ear Up local, they have 12 bands, and the Ear Up Global, 6 of them were chosen for overseas performances as to expand their audiences. And for advertising, we support the advertising CAMFAN Award winners to take part in international advertising awards, and the results were quite splendid, and very often they managed to win in those awards. And next, market development. One example will be the 70th Hong Kong Asia Film Financing Forum. This would help a lot of the film projects to get financing, involving 21 regions of 42 film projects, attracting over 1,000 investors from 40 countries. On each film, the budget, each will get about 30 opportunities. And on publishing, they get to different major book fairs, including the Frankfurt Book Fair, Beijing, Shanghai, and Taipei. And the third strategy on promotion of cross-sector and cross-boundary collaborations. First, the Hong Kong International Film Festival is a long-standing film festival, and now at the 33rd edition. And this year, we invited 330 screenings from 63 countries of 231 films, attract a total of 67,000 audience. And for the Entertainment Expo, they currently one of the top 3 entertainment expo of its kind. This year we had 680 exhibitors from 35 countries, with total attendees about 9,000. And music, well, for 8 years we'll be holding the Hong Kong Asian Pop Music Festival with artists from 9 countries and regions. And the program is broadcast on various platforms, able to reach to 340 million people. And for cross-sectoral support for the 6 microfilm creation support scheme since 2013, over 110 production teams taking part, and this year they have 27. Basically, they are combining commercials and music. Another will be Juxtaposed Fashion and Music 2018, to allow the local musicians and singers working with 150 fashion designers for this annual event. And for the Business of Design Week BODW and the City Program will be the flagship event for the industry. And each year we work with different cities and countries. For 2018, our partner is Melbourne, Australia. In 2019, we'll work with the UK. We also have something called the Hong Kong Licensing Award. Since there's a trend to commercialize the IP, so it provides an progression for their products, for the ideas turning into merchandising. And for TV, we've supported TV World International Forum as part of the Entertainment Expo. And at the forum, we explored the opportunities in GBA area, hosted by Mr. Lam Yok Wah and Ellen Zeman as the moderator, as well with the overseas guests for sharing. On tapping into overseas and markets, and we'll also take the GBA market seriously. For film, we have this Dream Factory in Bay Area, Sypnosia, and the Guangzhou, Hong Kong, Macau training workshops to help with film pitching and financing, as well as the film exchange program. For architecture, we have the biannual Hong Kong Shenzhen Design Twin Cities, as well as the Shenzhen Hong Kong Twin City exhibition. After the launch of the outline development plan for the GBA, we have led a design industry delegation to visit Guangzhou and Shenzhen, to met with the GBA Creative Alliances as well as the Guangzhou Creative Industry Park. On the Belt and Road, we organized overseas visits to explore opportunities. In 2019 September, the film delegation to Hungary, and this February, the delegation of the digital entertainment sector to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The delegation get good response because the Malaysian counterparts also make a reciprocal visit to Hong Kong. We also led a delegation of young architects and interior to United Arab Emirates, and the printing delegation to Minsk, Belarus, for this China Belarusia Industrial Park. Next, Dr. Lee. Since establishment 2001, is the close partner of the government in promoting design as the design capital of Asia and the world. Our work is to promote and deploy creative thinking for social. We undertake publicity promotion of Hong Kong design, market promotion, market leadership, and promotion of design excellence, nurture of design entrepreneurs, and supporting development of the fashion design industry. One of the major flagship was the Business of Design Week. Within the report period, we're working with the Melbourne government, which is the theme about think, collaborate, and innovation. So we grouped together 90 speakers, great experts, and at the same time, we also have BOW City program, for example, GFA presentation ceremony, Fashion Asia Hong Kong, and Detour Glow, and this attracting over 230 participants. We'll continue to expand our network, and this year we'll start from December 1st to 7th. We partner up with the UK with the theme of Design is Great. To support the fashion industry, we also have the Fashion Asia Hong Kong Business Forum. We also invited a total of 29 speakers, with attended by over 1,000 visitors. And this, we also have the 10 Asian Designer to Watch fashion exhibition, in which we showcase local designers with huge potential and other promising designers in Asia for an exhibition. And we have activities in Hong Kong and Shanghai attracting over 35,000 visitors. And this year, we hope to expand the Fashion Asia Hong Kong network. And we have been receiving local and overseas delegation visits from the government and the NGO and the student organizations. In promoting quality design, the GFA Design Award since inception 2003 will be recognizing practitioners and corporate leaders to commend their quality design. In 2018, we will launch the Asia and Kapok pop-up store. In which we have featuring 13 Design for Asia awarding winning products for public purchase. It also organized this design exchange tour to Taiwan. Hopefully, in the journey, they can learn about the winning projects and the leadership thinking. And for the design incubation program, since inception 2012, there are over 228 companies took part. Or rather, correction, with a lot of companies winning various awards. We've supported 230 companies into the 60 companies selected for the third round. Hopefully we can finish. So by the next April for 2020-21, there will be the fourth round of GIP. And for the FIP, it's a 2-year intermediate incubation program, in which we choose designers of just more than 3 years experience. Out of the 70 companies, we have narrowed down to 14 company incubatees and have getting a lot of local and international awards. And now that by 2029-20, we have reached a target for phase 1, and by next April we'll start on the second edition. And so on promoting design exchange, in late December, we organized a 4-day design exchange tour in Tokyo. We've chosen 12 Hong Kong designers to understand from and nurturing to expand their horizons. And for 2019, this design exchange tour will be in Los Angeles.
都會喺三藩市
There will also be held. There will also be a design and tech exhibition in San Francisco. We hope to promote cooperation between design and technology. Now, apart from the December design week, we have also a program in June on smart city, smart healthcare and business. And last year we have over 800 participants in our forums and a number of workshops, so that they learn about the people-oriented directions to create value, and we will continue to promote design-based applications. Now, last year, during the report period, we have over 100 civil servants participating in our workshops, and we also work with different sectors like education and healthcare, and participants in EMBA programs and middle and upper level management. They are all participants in our workshops on design. And last year, with the support of Create Smart Initiative, we had a new program. We tried to promote design in different sectors, such as the education sector. And last year, there were over 30 speakers and over 450 participants in forums and workshops, and there were also promotion on TV and social media, and on business of BODW, Business of Design Week. Now, apart from exhibitions in Wan Chai, we have also city program. We work with creative community in Wan Chai, and we hope that this year we will continue that. And last year we had over 76,000 members of the public participating, and we hope to promote this creative industry culture in the community. In 2019 to 20, we will continue to work in these four main areas. We will hold different activities, and we will have a design spectrum in Wan Chai, and we will liaise more closely with the community in Wan Chai to promote quality design. And we'll have a design exchange program that will go to the U.S., and we will also have other various programs. And on there's the Sham Shui Po design base. Now, this was announced in January. And this is an important project for Sham Shui Po, and space was reserved for Hong Kong Design Center, and we hope that would be a landmark for fashion and design. The work is ongoing. We think that the completion will be 2023 to 24, so we will continue to work hard on the application of design thinking to enhance Hong Kong's international competitiveness, so that we can be the design center for the Greater Bay Area and for Asia. Ray Chan, Kwok Ching Yu, Ma Fung Kwok, Yu Si Wing, and myself have indicated a wish to speak. Raise hand first, 4 minutes. Now, I have been following up on Film Development Fund support threshold. Now, we made the point about the design, about the definition of film. Now, it's very different from 10 years ago. Now, the production doesn't have to be shown in a cinema. Now, is that the definition? Does one have to be? Does a film have to be shown for a certain number of days? Now, I made this proposal before. It was to be reviewed, but after the review was completed by the government last December, there was no indication of relaxation about the definition of film. Now we see a lot of these film platforms which attract a lot of audience, and they also earn some income. Now there are some series in say that have been successful in Taiwan. Now previously these TV shows are from major TV companies, but now these productions are by smaller companies which sell to the major TV stations. So are there funds which can help these producers of short TV productions? And on the first feature film initiative, now I know there has been expanded scope. Now you support them for exhibition abroad. Now if they are successful and if they want to have the films being shown in cinemas abroad, will you help them? Now on the Film Development Fund, now concerning certain schemes, it's true that to gain support by the FFFI, there is the threshold that the film has to be shown in a cinema. And when the matter is discussed in the committee of the Film Development Fund, we felt that this is appropriate. Now, the fund also provides training schemes and programs that teach people how to make better films. Now, sometimes the training is targeted at those who are already in the industry, but once these people have been trained, they can make not just films, but also TV series and also advertising materials. So apart from the Film Development Fund, the Create Smart initiative also subsidizes microfilms and other shooting activities. Now, some starting out directors who are starting out make use of those programs. Now, for productions not shown in cinemas, for instance, TV, a series, now can you subsidize their production? And it's not just about training. Now, we can explore in this direction, but we don't have such a scheme in the pipeline right now to subsidize different types of films. Next, Kwang Chun Yu. I have a question about the FDF. Now, previously there was a film called 1 Chongying Street. Now, there was application to the Film Development Fund for subsidy, and at the time, it was said that there was not insufficient commercial element, but then it was very successful abroad. So, so how do we prevent such difficulty in the future? For instance, there was recently a film on June 4th, and now this type of film is difficult to assess, so they are quite popular. So how do you decide whether there is sufficient commercial element? Now, concerning these subsidy programs, now the main assessment is by members of the film industry. Now, the assessment criteria include creativity, and then they also look at the script. So many times it's these are feature films. So this is an industry. So it has to be there's be commercial element. That is, it must be able to be sold to the audience. And we also look at the income and expenditure forecast. And we also see whether there can be sustainability. Now, some films are of high creativity value, but they might not be that commercially viable. So the assessors of the industry may not give it a high score. Now, previously, the FDF subsidized some films which fetched a very low box office, maybe just several $100s. Now, some films, if they do not sell well, would that be a good reason to turn them down? Now, it's very difficult for us to know in advance whether that film would fetch a good box office. So, in the process of criteria, now, film is a creative industry, so there is no sure win formula. So so we just try to scrutinize the script, and we try to scrutinize also the budget. Now, suppose they make a sequel of the Chongying Street film. Well, it's hard to judge right now. We don't know how to make films. We only know how to make APIs. We have to rely on the industry to be our assessors. They would know which films would stand a greater chance of success. Ma Fong Kwok. The document says that the administration has followed up with central government departments to come up with measures for the industry to enter the mainland market. Now, concerning these 5 measures, which are very welcome, what's the latest progress? When can they be fully implemented? And since the CE announced this measure, the next day, we went with the film industry to visit the government departments in Beijing.
Raise few matters. For example, how do we extend the favorable measures to TV production or online content production? And second, in relation to GBA, do we have any special policy so as to further allowing the easier approval for Hong Kong productions and for the stage performances in Hong Kong? They currently different places require approval. Can we just get a approval once and for all so that they can and approve once and for all? And for the Create Smart initiatives, some of the projects that have received subsidy, and yet they incur a substantial amount of administrative work. For this recurrent scheme, would the government consider streamlining the administrative workload? For example, they can get approval last for 2 to 3 years, so that they can save more time and concentrate on their production. Permanent Secretary, still a few questions. And for the relaxation on measures as announced by the Chief Executive, a few of them we're already discussing with the Mainland Film Authority on the implementation details. So that under the CPA platform, we can confirm the technical details by the later half of this year. I know that Mr. Ma and led the delegation to Beijing. Besides these 5 favorable measures, especially relaxing the number of Hong Kong people and storylines, which would be very favorable to Hong Kong filmmakers. And I could see that there's a huge potential in GBA. And for example, on the approval procedures and distribution, whether they can have more flexibility, because Guangdong and GBA are closer to Hong Kong, a lot of the GBA residents are Cantonese speaking. So they are closer with greater cultural affinity, so that we have a bigger film market for Cantonese films for the appeal for further relaxation, and GBA has been taken up, and the Mainland Ministry is examining that hopefully in the not too distant future they can offer more relaxation measures. For example, on cultural performances, for example in stage plays and so on. As for the flagship programs, and for CSI, we'll have this 300 million dedicated funding to cover the flagship grade events, which also the recurrent ones. And for a design center, maintaining close liaison, and also seek to simplify the application. Since we are using public money, and we also have the audit commission having oversight, and we also are very strict on ourselves, and hopefully we can be good value for money. And for the auditing and paperwork, we are asking them to fulfill these requirements. For the publishing industry, you were subsidizing to the various huge book fairs. So these are recurrent ones. I agree with you that you have to go with all the audit one, but can you just simplify the procedures instead of applying it year after year? Can I have the head of Create Hong Kong? We'll be liaising with the publishing industry to see whether we can concentrate the batch of book fair applications, or example the continuity. For example, on the Frankfurt Book Fair, that we can look into it. We're still waiting for the response. Mr. Yu Shi-wing. On pair 59, on the Samshui Design Innovation Project. Maybe, so the claims that it will be completed by 2023 and 24. For the meantime, you will collaborate with the Tourism Commission for example, with elements of fashion design, so that Samshui can promote the Hong Kong tourism. For the whole program and the events there, who will take the lead? Would it be the Design Center or by the Tourism Commission or Hong Kong Tourism Board? So what are the specific plans that can you expand existing program, or are you going to have this standalone project to promote Samshui as a fashion base? A second question, for Wan Chai, I see that Tourism Commission and the HKDC have been launching this design Hong Kong Day that's not featured in the paper, even though it's not a big scale. However, to beautify the community and beneficial to the tourism. For example, in the at the top of the footbridges, on the cute little designs, and in the fire station, do we have some cute design as well? Besides Wan Chai, would you expand Design District Hong Kong or engage a similar kind of project with the Tourism Commission to let the young people to develop themselves, to showcase themselves? I think Mr. Yu have made a similar proposals, and now that our designs, we need to get to the community level, in which there will be closer collaboration with the residents. Besides the design, you also promote tourism. As also introduce a better concept for the public and encourage the young people to join this sector. So the Samshui and Wan Chai, we are going along with this direction. Well, we and Design Create Hong Kong and the Tourism Commission have been working together and actually work quite well. And for Samshui Po, like the West Kowloon district, before the completion of the new museum, we already have a lot of prelude activities. Maybe the head can talk about the fashion promotion. And for Wan Chai, during the Business of Design Week, we have a lot of on the plans of combining tourism and design launched in Wan Chai. For example, in a fire station, in which you can actually check in Instagram for virtual reality. And for Wan Chai, we have a few type activities. We need to learn from the Wan Chai experience. If it's successful, we want to see it in other suitable areas for similar kind of activities. So Samshui is really one of the core area for more fashion tourism synergy. Well, it can require a tripartite collaboration. Well, we also have this fashion music parade previously, and through the Creative Smart initiatives at the end of 2018, we have this FFF Friday combining the showcase of fabric retailer, and also work with the HKDI for this Hong Kong Cowboy Festival, which will work with the textile traders, and also with this weekend bazaar. So we've been discussed with different units how do we promote in the community, and HK DC and TO23, we can have this 36 square meters of fashion-based. So before 2023, would you have a serious that of activity that would combine the tourism? Definitely. On Para 30, we want to enhancement of the Hong Kong Avenue of Comic Stars in Callan Park. For the Golden Bohemian Square of this comics Harbourfront Park, well, just a few days ago, we have opened phase 2. We have add more comic characters, and so it'll be more Instagrammable. All right, Mr. Felix Chung. The Design Center and Create Hong Kong is currently doing a lot of things to support the Hong creative industry, including the fashion industry practitioners. We've seen there's an example in Korea in which they have this as this synergy between the fashion and the film industry. We've discussed that with issues of how can the fashion industry work with the film industry and know what's the progress. Head of Create Hong Kong, Mr. Victor Chang. We have this new action series. In 2018 Hong Kong Film Awards, we have invited the winners of the Fashion Incubation Program to work with the artistic directors and 10 subsidized film promising artists to help them for a makeover and a red carpet, and it had a very good response, and also help the new actor and actress to scout for more acting gigs. We'll continue to explore to foster synergy between the fashion and the film industry. I suppose the government had to be the Create Hong Kong to be more proactive. And now they have the addition 1 billion, 1.5 billion to the Film Development Fund. Can you actually stipulate the films to work with the fashion industry? For example, a lot of the fashion stylists or the wardrobe designers must use Hong Kong fashion designers. Since the ball is in the government's court, well, these involve the creative industry. Sometimes we have to look at the project basis. For example, in Still Human, they're rather a grassroots with probably not such need. But that means we should have a stipulate that. Of course, we kind of continue to try for opportunities for crossover, whether for fashion or music or for the optics. We've done a lot of crossover in the past. Well, thanks for the member suggestion. We see that can be explored. We want to identify for suitable opportunities. Well, not all our subsidized project may have such a need. Well, the all film require a wardrobe director. Either you need to be very creative or just very plain, but you must have this styling and wardrobe director. So if you set it as a condition to showcase the Hong Kong fashion designers, that will be the best of both worlds. could actually promote Hong Kong, design Hong Kong fashion. That's how South Korea succeed. If government come up with the money, why don't we impose such conditions? So let me just try one movie and see how it goes. Maybe I mistook Mr. Chung's. I will let the Mr. Chung. I think in our condition for funding would have a local requirement.
完成嘅時候咧，
Now, the two funds can become effective. Now, for the Create Smart initiative, we say that if can be cross-sector, we can enter into more projects. And similarly for films, now when we scrutinize for supporting the films, we often take into account the local element, so we will take into account the fashion designer local element. Now, there are not that many cinemas in Hong Kong. Now, previously, we have been saying that the government should try to add more cinemas and more seats. Now, what's the current situation? Now, even though there are now more cinemas, the commercial element is important. Now, for small and medium-sized productions, can they can they get the cinemas to show them at better hours? Because that would affect the box office. So how does the government support that? Now, for cinemas, several years ago, the number was very low, and in the past 2 or 3 years, there was a resurgence. Now, a few years ago, there were only 48, and now there are 58. As for the number of seats, it used to be 40,000 or so, about 42,000. So it's now about 42,000, and there's a new cinema that will soon be open in Tai Po. So in all 18 districts, there would be at least one cinema. Of course, there would be more in the busier districts like Causeway Bay. So there is a resurgence in the number. But sometimes local productions or small productions, they may not be shown in the peak, in the in the better show times. Now, perhaps we can try to arrange for the small and medium-sized productions supported by us to see whether we can get them to be shown in some promotional time slots where there would be attendance by directors and actors and actresses so as to stimulate the interest by the audience. So this would be an improvement from the current situation. So we can talk to the cinema operators to see whether they can be offered more promotional hours, or we can arrange for some secondary school students to attend the cinemas at hours, at after school hours, which are not that busy hours, so that there can be more discussion in the social media, etc. So the promotional time slots would be subsidized by you. So this would be more prime time slots, so that there could be more discussion. Well, it would be just one or two shows. It can be more than 10. It's a different kind of financial support, but it's a direction that we are considering. Now, how long will your consideration take? We are working with the Film Development Board and also with the cinema operators. We need their views because they are more familiar with what the actual situation is in the industry. Now, previously we talked about the question of the fake banknotes that are used in to be used in filming. Now the HKMA has uploaded the necessary procedures, and the discussion is now ongoing for not just banknotes but also some cars that are used in films, and also the identity documents of police officers, etc. Now, we know that the film industry tries to abide by the law, and so there is concern about police uniforms and police warrant cards and so on. So we don't want the creative industry to be caught by the law. Now, on the nurturing of talent, now you have promotion of design and creative work and talents. Now, in the year to March this year, there have been many workshops, but there are not that many people who were involved. Now, so for those who are now, when you promote creative thinking in the secondary schools and so on, will you allocate a larger chunk of your budget? Last year there were 3 activities which help the secondary and primary school students to be exposed to creative thinking, including summer camps where instructors would tell them about creative thinking, and there has been good feedback. And this year we will increase the strength of the initiative, especially for primary students. Last year there were over 30 schools that participated. Well, you know, we have many schools in Hong Kong, but we have to make a start to accumulate some experience. So since you have started on the initiative, how do you intend to expand the program? Because we have almost 1,000 secondary and primary schools. We have already stepped up our effort this year. Do you have a target, say a 5-year program with a gradual increase in the students exposed to the creative thinking? Maybe you have to get partners to join you, because I took part in a program, and there were over 70 such activities in 2 years. So you need a dedicated team. You must not wait for the schools to approach you. Now, this is right now in the initial promotion stage, and we will have to assess the effectiveness, and for upgrading the promotion, we need to also engage in train the trainer for the teachers. Now, the teachers are already very busy. Now, you want them to be responsible for enhancing the creativeness of students. It's very difficult. And maybe you can outsource the task. You can get some partner organizations to adopt a unified approach in your promotion. You said that the effectiveness has been satisfactory, so you should find some partner organizations to cover the territories, schools over a certain period of time. So you need a timetable and you need a plan in your allocation of resources. Otherwise, the progress would be too slow. Madam Chair, we would take into account your suggestions. We, as the Executive Director said, we are now just in the first year. The students and the teachers are very busy, so we have to find a time slot, for instance, summer camps. So it has been effective in the first year. Of course, we need some fine-tuning to make improvements. And when we expand the scheme, we will take into account your suggestions. Now, you consider design and creative thinking important. So you should try to expand the program so that all students can be exposed to these activities. So you should also talk to the Civil Service Bureau. All civil servants should be exposed to such training. Now, we have a tight schedule today, so we cannot continue the discussion further. We finish item number 4. Item number 5, AOB, next meeting date, 8th of July, 2:30 p.m. End of the meeting. Thank you.